Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices is made possible in part by CIBC.
Good evening y bienvenidos to Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices. I'm Alex Hernandez of Primera Hora, which airs weekday mornings on Univision Chicago. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. On the show tonight, the La Villita community reacts to video of young Adam Toledo's death at the hands of a Chicago police officer. Rare yet severe reactions to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have health officials recommending a pause to the vaccine.
They'll be able to open up the bottle and smell home.
And a local company that's kept the sazon in Chicago for over 60 years. First off tonight, for the past 2 weeks, the La Villita community and all of Chicago has reacted to 13-year-old Adam Toledo's death at the hands of a Chicago police officer on March 29th. Thursday afternoon, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability published body cam and surveillance footage of the shooting. During the video, it appears that a firearm can briefly be seen in Toledo's hand before he drops it at Officer Eric Stillman's orders and turns to face the officer with both hands raised. At the moment he's shot, he does not appear to be holding a weapon. We will now show you an edited version of the foot chase that ends just prior to the gunshot. We have to warn you, this video is upsetting to watch and explicit language is used. We start with the moment Officer Stillman got out of his police car and chased Toledo through an alley. You won't hear audio for the first 15 seconds.
Please stop! Stop right fucking now! Hands! Show me your fucking hands! Drop it! Drop.
Toledo was shot and killed in that next moment. Joining us to talk about the community's reaction to these events are Ana Lozano, an organizer at the advocacy organization Únete La Villita, and Cristian Armendariz, a member of the Little Village Community Council. To both of you, thank you for joining us today. And I want to start with you, Cristian Armendariz. You had spoken out about Adam Toledo's killing before this video was released. Now that you have seen it, now that the video has been released, what are your feelings today?
Well, I still have the same feelings since day one, since I started this movement. It was injustice done to Adam. This movement, we would not have the mayor release it or COPA release the footage in 16 days. Since we started, it's been 16 days, and thanks to us and everybody that's been supporting us for our cause, we got the video released in 16 days, and people got to see the truth. Now we got more supporters on our side. Now everybody's backing up Adam. That's what they wanted. So, and I believed in my heart that Adam did not have a gun, or Adam didn't shoot at the police. Adam did not point at the gun at the police. That was what my heart kept telling me. And yeah, as you can see, now the footage says it itself. He had his hands in the air, and the officer still felt the need to kill him.
As you know, on Thursday, also the attorney for the family, Adina Weiss-Ortiz, spoke about this very same video. Let's hear what she had to say about it.
So, it could be a gun. I'm not going to deny that it could be a gun. But I can't tell you with 100% certainty until I have that video forensically analyzed and enhanced. But it is not relevant because he tossed the gun. If he had a gun, he tossed it. The officer said, "Show me your hands." He complied, he turned around. There's a still photo going around on the internet with his hands up, and he's shot in the middle of his chest.
Cristian, after hearing this, what are your thoughts on Ortiz's analysis of the video?
Well, I definitely back her up. I definitely back her statement up on 100%, and that was my initial understanding of the whole situation when I first started the campaign, the movement campaign, if you want to call it. I truly did believe that Adam did not have the gun at that moment that officers shot him. I know it happened that moment, that clip, it was just a second, and he died on scene. But I honestly felt from the beginning that Adam did not had the intention of pointing or having an armed confrontation with police department. I know for a fact he didn't have that armed confrontation with police.
Now with you, Ana Solano, what are you hearing from the community after seeing this video? What are their thoughts?
I have seen that there's a division between the community. There's a lot of victim blaming, and I think that's unfortunate because, it shifts the focus away from the police. They're the ones that shot Adam Toledo. They're the ones that shot the little boy. And I don't think that sort of shift should happen. They should take accountability because the police cannot act as the judge, jury, and executioner.
Now, after hearing the thoughts also of the mayor and the Toledo families calling to the community for calm in the wake of the video release, what are your thoughts on that, Ana?
I think it's very hypocritical for the mayor to demand peace because her decisions have been really violent. When she took away our COVID relief and gave it to the police, that's violence because it's the same police that criminalizes our youth and they shoot them. So it's very hypocritical, and I don't agree that she called for peace.
Christian, we're taping this interview on Friday afternoon. The Little Village Community Council and other organizations also have more protests planned. What action do you want to see from the city and the Chicago Police Department from now on?
Well, I want to take some legal action into this matter. I want to legally sue the mayor, the superintendent, and the ward of Little Village, the alderman, I should say, the alderman, because I feel like they're all responsible for the cover-up. Oh, and the commander, the watch commander and sergeant from District 10 that were on scene, because they all are involved in the cover-up. They all try to frame Adam as he had the gun and he tried to shoot police officers, and that is not true. So I really want to moving forward with this movement. I want to take some legal action into the matter.
Ana, much of the focus also of police-involved shootings, as you know, has been on the Black community, but there have been similar events in La Villita and other Latino communities before. Do you think Toledo's death will alter the relationship between the communities?
I hope that his death brings awareness to our community because there's a lot of anti-Blackness in La Villita, unfortunately. So I hope that people get to realize that police violence is not only a Black issue, it's also a POC issue. So I hope that, we can work on our anti-Blackness and unite forces because state violence is bad.
Christian, I'm going to get back to you. Do you see, for example, some of your own story or your peer's story in Adam Toledo's? What should the city and community be doing to prevent more stories like Adam's?
Well, I'm born and raised. I was born and raised in Little Village all my life, so I definitely know what shoes Adam was in. I was at 13. I was outside at 3 a.m., possibly even later. I did run away from homes. We all have our own personal problems, and I really feel like Adam was just a teenager. We all have our little reckless moments in life, and I feel like he was just being influenced by the wrong people. He was at the wrong time, the wrong place, wrong time, and it could have been anybody. It could have been anybody. It could have not just a 13-year-old kid. It could have been a 7-year-old. It could have been a 20-year-old. It could have been a 90-year-old lady.
Do you think gang recruiting and violence had to do with Adam's death? Christian.
I feel like the gang activity in the community did take a part in it. Also, I feel like police promotes gang violence in the community. So I feel like it's a 50-50 way to blame.
Ana, we have limited time now, but I want to leave this very last question to you. What do you think La Villita and Chicago need to do in order to begin healing after this tragic event?
I think that we should listen to our youth and really donate to orgs that have been doing work on the ground, like Chicago Freedom School, Good Kids Med City, El Vejo, Royo, Unete. So I think that we should listen to the youth, support the youth, and then also be empathetic towards the mom. Like, don't share that graphic video. Be empathetic, listen to the youth, and really focus on doing community work and fund our communities, because I don't think that elected officials are doing right by supporting a city budget that kills us, essentially.
Ana Solano, Cristian Armendariz, thank you both for joining us today. Environmental activists have been calling out air pollution from factories and manufacturers in Chicago's Black and Latino communities for many years. But a demolition gone wrong in La Villita last spring brought the issue into startling focus. The drone footage you see here is courtesy of Alejandro Reyes of the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization. Health officials are recommending a temporary halt on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's after 6 people developed serious blood clots after being vaccinated. This week, the CDC and the FDA released a joint statement recommending a pause on the one-dose vaccine as they investigate the 6 adverse reactions described as extremely rare among the nearly 7 million doses distributed. Here's Dr. Anthony Fauci before Congress explaining the reasoning for the recommendation.
So there were 2 reasons to do it. One, out of an abundance of caution to see what we're dealing with, and B, to make sure they alert physicians about what to do with it. Hopefully, we'll get a decision quite soon as to whether or not we can get back on track with this very effective vaccine.
Joining us today to offer her insight on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine situation and COVID vaccinations in general is Dr. Juanita Mora, allergist and immunologist at the Chicago Allergy Center. Dr. Mora is also a national spokesperson for the American Lung Association. Welcome back, Dr. Mora. Thank you for joining us. And I want to start right off with wanting to know what exactly happened in these extremely rare reactions to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Okay, so first to tell the public, Alex, we want to make sure it's ultra rare, right? We've had 6 cases of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis and 7 million vaccinations that were given. So that's less than 1 in 1.1 million people. So what's happening is what's believed to be a vaccine-induced thrombotic thrombocytopenia. So what that basically means is somehow the immune system of these women was activated to some part of the virus, of the inactivated virus in the vaccine. And then that activates the platelets drop and people bleed. So it's forming clot at the same time that the platelets are being consumed. So it's an ultra rare disorder, and it's good that they're doing a pause so we can learn more about how to treat this disorder. And also we can learn maybe what linked these women as far as underlying cause of possible linkage. So were they all smokers? Were they all on oral contraceptives? Were they all uncontrolled diabetics, or they had autoimmune disease, or any propensity to hypercoagulation.
How severe would this be? How would doctors treat them differently than any other blood clots? Would they have used an anticoagulant for this?
Good question. So normally we see a clot, especially a cerebrovenous thrombosis, a big clot. You want to give heparin, which is an anticoagulant, to kind of help dissolve. But in this case, that is not the correct answer, because it can actually make things worse, which is why they're doing a pause, so doctors learn how to treat this. So this is an immune reaction, and giving heparin with low platelets can actually make the bleeding worse and can be dangerous. So in this case, what we want to do is actually give IVIG or immunoglobulin to block the immune response and make everything better.
Should people that have already taken the Johnson & Johnson vaccine be concerned? Are there things that they should look out for?
Sure. So the reactions that did happen were between 6 and 13 days of having the vaccination. So things to look for, because I don't want people to panic or anything else. Cerebrovenous thrombosis, basically, or any blood clot, can show up with a severe headache, especially posterior headache, visual disturbances, numbness, weakness of the body, any abdominal pain or swelling, any actual leg pain or swelling as well, to any shortness of breath, because any clots are going to be higher in number in the lungs, in the legs, and in the brain. So those are the three areas that are affected when clots are made.
What's going to happen now with people that were scheduled or that are still scheduled to receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Are they likely to receive another? What's going to happen?
Sure. So in that sense, we're not worried, because there's enough Pfizer and Moderna to go around. So at this time, if they were scheduled to have a Johnson & Johnson, they will be switched to either a Pfizer or Moderna. But what I'm worried about, Alex, is vaccine hesitancy in people who already had it.
Right. Now, what's going to happen? What can we expect from the CDC, from the FDA, on the stoppage on the vaccine? A few more days? What would we expect?
So the actual committee on immunizations already met yesterday, and they looked at the data, and they asked for 7 to 10 more days to review more of the history in these women to see if there's any linkage. And so we hope that in 7 to 10 days, we might have more of an answer. My guess would be that there is going to be basically a resumption of the vaccine, but there might be restrictions. Like, for example, women might be told if they're on oral contraceptives, they might not want to take the Johnson & Johnson or anything else. So further recommendations that might help improve things.
So we could expect it back with some limitations. What are you
Correct.
hearing from your patients at your clinic and your community regarding vaccination?
Well, there's so much vaccine hesitancy, Alex, already in the Latino community. So in the nation, in the United States, only 11% of Latinos have gotten vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine. And here in Chicago, we're looking at 22.4% of Latinos vaccinated. In the state of Illinois, we're also at 11%. So we have a lot of work to do, but vaccine hesitancy is going to increase even more, which is why the American Lung Association is responding with a vaccine campaign to really fuel with facts all the vaccine hesitancy. And people can learn more at lung.org. There's public service announcements and a big booklet that we developed with LULAC and funded by Anthem as well too. It's called Better For It, which tells you everything about the vaccines, what the science is behind them, what are the most common myths, what are the most common fears, what are the most common side effects, and then where can you find a vaccine? Because remember, everyone, that the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, is our best tool against this pandemic, and it saves lives.
Doctor, you beat me to the question, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I want to thank you for joining us again and for all this very important information. Obviously, our community needed the answers. Thank you so much again.
Always a pleasure.
Up next, the local company keeping Chicago spicy for the last 6 decades.
Don't ever miss Chicago Tonight. Subscribe to our podcast. Get a daily download of our show delivered to your desktop or mobile device. Go to WTTW.com/Chicago Tonight Podcast and subscribe.
When Avelino Maldonado started his spice distribution company, La Criolla, in Chicago in 1957, the biggest waves of Latino immigrants had yet to arrive. 64 years later, Latino make up nearly 30% of the city's population, and La Criolla has new owners who hope to bring their sabor Latino to another generation of cooks. Producer Erika Gunderson has a story.
I was born and raised in Chicago, so my mother used to use La Criolla brand. So I feel like it's a legacy in that part because we're bringing it on to our children and our grandchildren.
As in so many cultures, for Latinos, the family kitchen is a sacred place where traditions are passed down from generation to generation. And since 1957, when Avelino Maldonado started La Criolla Foods by selling spice blends out of the trunk of his car, the company has offered a taste of home for Chicago's Latino families.
We have the sazon and the adobo. That was a creation from Avelino. That is like a multi-seasoning. You can put everything.
Maria and Jose Chaparro took over La Criolla Foods at its original location in the West Loop in 2016. They bought the company from founder Avelino Maldonado's wife, Carmen.
Carmen was looking for pass the legacy, Latino family, so we was the lucky ones to get it.
In 2018, the Chaparros moved La Criolla to a larger facility in South suburban Alsip. Since then, they've been working on plans to expand and promote their brand to a new generation via social media. La Criolla's finance and operations manager, Raul Rosas, says the pandemic has renewed interest in cooking at home.
It's been a resurgence of having to experiment again with your cooking and having to remember those recipes that your mom has made, or had to get on a Zoom call or Google Meet call with them or FaceTime to say, hey, am I doing this correctly? Am I picking the right spices? Am I adding the right pinch? Because it's always a pinch.
And getting just the right flavor to spark that memory of home cooking is La Criolla's mission.
What we hope is when they open it, they'll smell home and remember their mother, their grandmother cooking, whatever it may be. For me, it's the carne molida en chile verde that my mom makes.
Executive chef Roberto Perez is in charge of bringing those flavors to life via recipes and photos on social media.
What that means right now is that I'm doing some food testing, with some spices, testing them out, checking them out in different particular recipes and seeing if any adjustments need to be made. So a lot of the ingredients are inspired from Caribbean cooking.
As part of extending their brand's reach, Rosas says another big move for La Criolla is in the works.
Which is what we're doing in our plans for this near future, is positioning it for an equity crowdfunding campaign where the community is able to invest and be part of the growth of La Criolla.
People know La Criolla is the local brand of Chicago.
And as the city's Latino population grows, Rosas says the company is positioned to grow along with it.
The Latino market is a market that's, I think it's been overlooked for quite some time. It's a sleeping giant, and it's a powerful, there's power in your household as a Latino household.
For Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, this is Erika Gunderson.
For more on La Criolla, be sure to check out our website. And we're back to wrap things up right after this. And that's our show for this Saturday night. Be sure to check out our website, WTTW.com/news, for the very latest WTTW news. There you'll find details on when Chicago Public High School students can expect to return to in-classroom learning and much more. Enjoy Brandon Friedman tomorrow night for Chicago Tonight Black Voices. In the wake of recent police-involved shootings, she talks with advocates about next steps for community healing and how a local nonprofit is creating space for artists of color in television production. Also, remember to tune in to Primera Hora on Univision Chicago weekday mornings at 5 and 6 a.m. I'll be waiting for you. Next week on Latino Voices, Araceli Gomez Aldaña with WBEC will be here in the host chair. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight Latino Voices, I'm Alex Hernandez. Thank you for sharing part of your weekend with us. Stay healthy, stay safe. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud of its partners named Illinois Leading Lawyers by the Law Bulletin Publishing Company of Chicago.